Sarah Palin has responded to her son track punching his girlfriend in the face and then threatening to kill himself with a gun to his head in only the most responsible way possible, blaming it on President Barack Obama. Let's take a look at her video.
I can talk personally about this. I guess it's kind of the elephant in the room because my own family going through what we're going through today with my son, a combat vet, having served in a Stryker brigade, fighting for you all, America, in the war zone. But my son, like so many others, they come back a bit different. They come back hardened. They come back wondering if there is that respect. And that starts from the top. It's a shame that our military personnel even have to wonder if they have to question if they're respected anymore. So when my own son is going through what he goes through, coming back, I can certainly relate with other families who kind of feel these ramifications of some PTSD, and it makes me realize more than ever, it is now or never, for the sake of America's finest, that we have that commander-in-chief who will respect them and honor them.
That was stupid in like 7 different ways.
So, I mean, in case people are having deja vu, yes, we did do that yesterday, but it was...
Yeah, we're gonna have more.
Yeah, there's more to this, but just for, I don't know, Jimmy, you weren't here yesterday, to even just mention the first part of this. She talked about how some come back hardened, different. They go to this dark place, but there's still this jovial tone. Like someone should help school her on. She talks about her son who's hardened and has issues, but it's still, he's hardened. He's issues. He goes to dark places. There has to be moments when, I even hate it when politicians do it, when there's too much of a somber tone because they're trying to create this emotion for people that are watching. But just, if you go into this dark and somber, and this hardened place where you're a kid, you're a son, then you probably have a little bit of a serious tone about it. Like,
you try.
He's hardened. Like, this is really bad. But it seems like she's having a great time about it. Like, this doesn't add up.
It's a very difficult time for Sarah Palin's son track, which is why she's there for Trump.
Exactly, yeah. I love, by the way, that she goes and does that endorsement the day after the incident. And Donald Trump, we're going to have his video in just a second, but I'm sure when he saw the news, he was like, oh, fuck you. God damn it. What did you get me involved in? So now he's responded in a bad way, too.
I just want to give a bit of advice to all the women out there who are in abusive relationships. For God's sake, please call the cops on Obama.
Jesus. So I love that she, first of all, and I tweeted this when I first heard about it, she's blaming it on the PTSD. So again, this is the political ideology that says that it's all about personal accountability and responsibility. You're responsible for what you did. Sarah Palin, for the first time ever in her life, considering the psychological and life situation of the people who commit crimes, it's never crossed her mind before, refuses to say what actually happened. We're feeling ramifications. Well, yeah, the girlfriend felt ramifications when he punched her in the face. He punched her right in the ramifications. She's not actually acknowledging that. It's all about him serving abroad. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's a good part. The punching in the face, not so much. You don't seem to care about that. Did she say anything about the ramifications for the girlfriend? No, it's the family is feeling it, not the person that he abused and then drew a gun on.
So she still has the inability.
No empathy.
Yeah.
Except for herself and her son.
Yeah. So that's not empathy. That's sympathy for yourself.
Yeah. So that was wrong. If you're going to say that it's PTSD, and it's entirely possible that he is suffering from PTSD, PTSD doesn't lead to you coming back and wondering if you're being respected enough. You apparently don't even know what PTSD is. He might have emotional problems and he might have rage based on his PTSD. That is totally legitimate. He's still responsible for the things that he does. But you could say that. She even can't just say it's PTSD. It has to be something that can be drawn back to Obama. This idea that he's causing soldiers to come back and not be respected enough, that first of all, that he was responsible for the conflict at all, is absurd. She doesn't care that of course, it was Bush that brought us into those conflicts in the first place, that he already knew about the conflicts and what they were like when he chose to go into the military. And of course, he's not responsible whatsoever for the things that he does in his personal life.
So I remember when her son went off to war and she exploited it for political expediency then. Yeah. And it was like, your kid's going off to war, right? He's not going off to a party or a parade or a fake, he's not playing paintball. He might get killed and he might come back, oh, son of a bitch. He came back with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a mental disorder, right? So when you go to war, you come back fucked up. Which is why you shouldn't be cheering wars.
Yes.
Right? You should be somber about wars. But she still isn't. She's still about kicking ass and going and beating someone and giving someone else PTSD and giving our kids PTSD, and thanks Obama.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what this is up. She's exploiting her son when he goes off to war, which if you remember, she said where he was going to be deployed, which you're not supposed to do, which was a big snafu. Also, now when the kid comes back from war, messed up, she's exploiting him again.
I wonder at some point they're probably. There's got to be subconscious where they're upset about this. Even when he went the first time, I don't know how old he was, but he's not old. So as a young man going off to war, and then your mother's exploiting it for her own political accomplishments. I'm sure it was right when she was running. I assume that's when she first came into the limelight, when she was running and she was vice presidential candidate. But then you come back and it's still happening. You're like, well, I might as well be over there. I don't want to see this shit anymore. Yeah. It's like I don't know when the anger is going to boil over to seeing who the people are that continue to exploit him that are supposed to be the closest people to him.
It's entirely possible that it was trauma from when he was abroad that caused these problems. It's also possible that it was trauma from when he was being raised by Sarah Palin. I mean, we know that this guy is apparently, if you look back in his history, I mean, this is just a couple of years ago, so it could still be from the PTSD, but in the drunken backyard brawl that the Palins got in, he was the one without his shirt on, apparently most involved in the violence. There are rumors, again, we can't confirm this, that he cut the brake line of a truck when he was younger. Like, maybe he's had problems for a longer time, and maybe, as Jimmy says, you should consider the ramifications for all these families when you cheerlead us into more wars that could lead to these sorts of situations for tens of thousands of Americans.
Also underlining this is the theme, the right-wing theme, that when a white person commits a crime or an act of terrorism, they're somehow a victim.
Yeah.
But when a black person does anything, even if they don't do anything, they're a thug.
Yeah, if a black soldier had punched his girlfriend in the face, would she be giving a speech about PTSD?
No.
I kind of have a hard time believing that.
Think about it this way. Obama's to blame. Your son comes back from war. He's mad about the veterans issue, so he has PTSD and he attacks his girlfriend. Black protesters in the streets from direct actual violence against them from police officers that they've seen face to face. This guy hasn't met Obama, and Obama didn't say, you know what, fuck you, Track, get out of my face. You're just a veteran. So people that have actually seen police officers assault them and their families now protest because they're dead, they're the ones that are exploiting and now they have nothing, no leg to stand on. Stop complaining. Are we going to tell this guy to stop complaining when nothing actually happened to him directly from Obama telling him not to live?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
But those are the bad guys. Those are the thugs that actually haven't done anything except walk in the streets with signs.
Yeah.
I'll say, before we go, the one thing I will say is that no one takes her seriously anymore, which is nice. Like, no normal people. There used to be a time when when mainstream journalism would give lip service to her and, well, she speaks for a lot of people and all that shit. And now
they know who she is now.
Now it's like, it's just the fact that Donald Trump diminished John McCain's war record and said he wasn't a war hero, and then said the only reason is because he got captured. I don't like guys who get captured. Yeah. A guy who never served. That's unbelievable, right? The ultimate sacrifice you could make for yourself, which John McCain made, and he was tortured for our country. Donald Trump shits on it. Sarah Palin's like, yeah. And people are feeling sorry for John McCain over that. Yeah. Right? Because look at how he defended Sarah Palin for years afterwards. Yeah. Never said a bad word about Sarah Palin. And now she's
allying with the guy who.
And I say, good for John McCain. It's about time it came back to bite you in the ass, even a little, for inflicting the scourge of Sarah Palin on our country. Yeah. Because he's the one who did this. Nobody else. She was an unknown governor. She wasn't even 2 years in, and he picks her and puts her on the national stage, and she has infected our body politic ever since. And he doesn't, and because of his loyalty to her, he'd rather throw the country under the bus and stay loyal to her all these years, and now she's not even loyal to him for a second. Exactly. She goes with a scummy guy like Donald Trump who shits on veterans, and she does it pretending that she's sticking up for veterans. Yeah. There's so many layers of hypocrisy and bullshit and doublespeak. And thank God that people are catching on, because I think people watched her endorsement speech like they watch a carnival.
Yeah,
I did.
Charlie
anyway.
bit my finger. It's basically.
It seems like everybody was watching it. All the news cover, everybody was like making fun of it immediately.
Of course, yeah. We don't even need to wait for SNL to mock it. We just go right to the source. And really fast, I want to identify why it is that she seemingly just got wrong what the problem is. If she says it's PTSD, he comes back, he doesn't feel respected. Why is it that she says that instead of he has psychological problems that require treatment? That's not a mistake. She does that on purpose for two reasons. One, If it was that he has medical problems that need to be treated, there is something you can either do or not do. You can support treatment for them, or you could not. And we know who supports the treatment for the troops and who does not. Whereas if it's about whether they're respected or not, you can always claim the other side doesn't respect them enough. Doesn't matter how many times Obama says we have the strongest military in the entire world's history. You can always just say he's disrespecting them. So no action is required if you do what she's saying. You're always right, they're always wrong. And more importantly, when it goes to future conflicts, if you take seriously the obligation we have to cure the harm that we do to our troops by putting them in harm's way, then you might not want to go to war. But if it's all about how respected they should be, well, hell, send them everywhere. We respect them. We respect what they're doing. We respect their sacrificing, as she says. So it both stops us from doing anything in the present and obligates us almost to send them into to forward conflicts in the future. It's very convenient for her.
Are you saying that she doesn't support health care for veterans?
It doesn't seem like it, and I know that in the past, remember there was the hospital that was having all those problems, and so that caused people to finally look at the veterans clinics nationwide. There was a very brief moment where people pretended that they cared at that point, but when the actual votes come up to fund health care, and especially mental health care for troops, it's almost never successful.
Correct.
Regardless of the fact that you have a billion Republicans serving in both Congress and Senate right now.
And who was the guy who just retired from the Senate with he was from Oklahoma, Tom Coburn. Or Coburn, he held up that vote to give mental health benefits to veterans. He did that, right? And he gave some weird speech. I mentioned Rachel Maddow did a whole thing on it. It was a weird, rambling speech and he cried. He cried while he was denying people health care.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He should if he realizes the person that he is.
So, the Republicans standing in the way of getting health care to 9/11 responders, right? First responders.
And that's something that goes on up until very recently. Jon Stewart, once again, having to push them to actually fund that particular health care.
And so they do that and they get away with it because the Democrats are so bad at taking advantage of political cakes laid on a platter
Obvious
for
hypocrisy,
them. Yeah, okay.
So that's Sarah Palin. And as I said earlier, she has put Donald Trump in a kind of difficult situation because Sarah Palin gives Donald Trump the endorsement when she already knows that her son has just committed a crime the night before. So is he going to strike back at Sarah Palin for putting him in that awkward position? Well, perhaps not. Let's watch.
Tulsa this afternoon, she spoke about her son Track's domestic violence arrest on Monday night, implying that it might have something to do with his combat-related trauma, and she criticized the president's policies dealing with that. Do you think it's fair to link the president with her son's issues?
Oh, I think so. Look, everything starts at the top. He's the president, and I think you can certainly do that. From what I understand, and all you have to do is look at the Veterans Administration, look at the horrible care our vets get. One of the many things I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten that mess out. And you have to say, ultimately, it's the president's charge. It's the president's responsibility. He has to make sure that the Veterans Administration works, and it doesn't. Our vets are being treated horribly.
That has to do with our veterans' care, health care. Let's talk about the economy now.
Thank you for those follow-ups, Don Lemon.
Yeah,
so I think that if a former Republican governor, half-term Republican governor's kid punches somebody, it starts at the top. It starts at the president. He's responsible for every individual act of politically inconvenient domestic violence, obviously. And that's...
Who's to blame for her daughter having all those kids out of wedlock?
Probably Michelle Obama in that case.
It's probably
it
Michelle
starts
Obama.
at the top. Look, first of all, I'm going to clear that mess out. Oh, well, thank you. We now understand what your policy will be in regards to
I don't think Donald
veterans.
Trump listens. Okay, it's 50-50. There's times when he doesn't listen to the question or doesn't understand it. I'm going to put those in the same category. And other times where he just decides to go with his own angle on it. So when you're asked, so the problem is, do you agree with her placing the blame on Obama for these hospitals? He goes, well, yeah, I'm going to fix all these hospitals. We're not asking about what you want to do with these hospitals. But if we're going to get on that subject, I wish the next question would have been, okay, how do you plan on fixing these hospitals? What's wrong with the hospitals that you want to fix?
Well, the question is, does Track Palin have any responsibility for the things that he does?
No.
And that doesn't mean that PTSD didn't contribute to it, or that perhaps because those hospitals don't provide as many services or as accessible services as they perhaps should, that couldn't have helped. but you are still an individual and you are still responsible for the crimes that you commit.
So
she didn't never even acknowledge that a crime was committed.
No,
it's just a situation. It's something going on.
He comes back.
No, it's a beating.
No, my son came back feeling bad. That's the situation. Not that he punched a woman in the face.
It makes him feel bad that he punched a woman in the face.
The situation is that my son feels badly and the president disrespected him. Not that my son just committed a felony assault against a woman.
Yeah.
Not that.
While he was intoxicated
While he was intoxicated once again.
Yeah.
Not that. No, it's so literally what just happened was, hey, did you hear your son just punched somebody when he was drunk again? Thanks, Obama.
And it'll work.
Exactly.
Honestly, if you actually think about the full scope of the argument you could have, they keep talking about how badly veterans are treated. Badly veterans are treated. Oh, this sucks. This is actually an ad against joining the military. If you're 18 years old and you're getting, all of us got it in high school. At some point, the army recruiter showed up.
Yeah.
I was in a parking lot, like at a strip mall,
and they come up
this
to
guy
you.
just rolled up, and I was like, "Where are you coming from?" Right? Because I was wearing flip flops when I was driving. He's like, "You can't wear flip flops when you drive. You should join the army." No lie, that was his approach.
Can I wear him while I'm in a tank?
It was crazy. So, and I was sitting there thinking, is this the moment I know everyone gets it? Is this mine? So at this point, when you get all these people who say, support the troops, I'm all about the troops, I've got veteran sons, brothers, fathers, nieces and nephews. So when you have all this and then you say, the army sucks, you're going to go and commit your life to this and come back and it's going to suck more. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going.
Yeah.
If you actually wrap this up in a good package, this is a great package for not going into the army. And the Republicans that's another platter served up to anyone who's against these lies they like to tell. You know the Republicans are against you joining the army? They want to minimize the troops. They want to minimize the numbers there. They want everyone else to win. But we're not going to give that argument.
It's also pretending that her son wouldn't have come back damaged from a war started by George Bush. It also pretends that her son wouldn't come back damaged if there was better health care here at home for veterans, which is not the case. He would have came back damaged either way. He just would get better care once he came back damaged.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in
injury
war.
still would have been
It's like they come back damaged.
Why do we need care for veterans if it's so awesome?
So maybe it gives people, maybe it'll give won't give Sarah Palin any pause because she's for exploiting her anything and anybody and anyone at any time because she has a narcissistic personality disorder. That's a borderline. Those are two borderline personalities on stage together.
Yeah, but doesn't it seem like eventually that's got to explode in their face? Those two people? Yeah, perhaps. We'll wait on the edge of our seat for that.
Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin blew up, so now it's going to be.
There you go.
It will
they
happen.
Could be next. Now, the White House has responded to both Sarah Palin and Donald Trump, saying that somehow President Obama is to blame for the Palin family's domestic violence, and you're going to see that in this video.
The reaction of some people, I think, is to, make light of some of the rhetoric that we see on the campaign trail, particularly from Governor Palin. But, the fact is, domestic violence is not a joke. Gun violence is not a joke. Problems with addiction are not a joke. And the consequences, the sacrifices that many of our men and women in uniform make for our safety and security are not a joke. And these are issues that this administration is quite focused on. We take them all very seriously, and there are many communities and families that are dealing with these very difficult challenges in a way that sometimes is difficult to talk about publicly.
So I like that response, and I think that he was picking up on the same thing that Jayar was, that her tone was, this is funny to you. You think that this is a funny situation. It seems serious to the people listening, but you're talking about like ramifications, and it's far more serious than that. Thankfully, your son only held the gun to his own head and threatened to take his life. He didn't actually attempt to take his girlfriend's life this time.
Which, by the way, is very controlling as well.
Of course,
it's one of the
you
main
can't
signs
leave
of
or I will
abuse.
kill myself.
Yeah, totally. Where are you going? Where are you going? You don't have these guns. You're thinking, if he's willing to kill himself, who else is he willing to kill? There's so many things it does to people's heads.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the abuse is the abuse.
But at least we know he was raised right.